Hi students, welcome to the next video. The previous one that we just did was how to do electron dot diagrams of covalent substances, and so hopefully we've got an idea of what they look like now and where all the covalent bonds go. And one thing we do need to just finalize is how we name covalent molecular compounds. You may have picked up already that we've got some specific techniques of naming them, which is a little bit different from metallic and ionic substances, and so we'll just go through very quickly the steps for this. This should be a considerably shorter video than the last one. Let's have a go. So there are 4 basic rules for naming covalent compounds. First one is the first element in the formula is named in full. That's pretty straightforward, no problem with that. The second element in the name is named as if it's an anion. So this is exactly the same as if we were doing the ionics. And by that we mean the name is shortened and given an "ide". So oxygen becomes oxide, fluorine becomes fluoride. However, the next step is the different step, and it's different because what we've got to do is we've got to use a prefix to tell how many of each atom are in the molecule. And so in the next slide I'll show you the prefixes that we use. You may have picked up on some already. For example, we've used the term carbon monoxide for CO and carbon dioxide for CO2. Note, however, that we never use mono for the first element because just having the name of the element suffices. Now, if the name, this is a little tricky one, but it really makes sense once you have a bit of practice at it. If the name of the second element begins with a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, and the prefix of that name ends in an A or an O, and there's only a couple of those, these letters are dropped to make pronunciation easier. So I just use the example carbon monoxide instead of mono-oxide. It just makes it a bit more sensible. So these are the prefixes. These are out of your textbook, and these are on your formula sheet. So we go up to 10. There are prefixes for more than that, but we'll never use them. And you can see that only a couple finish in O and A, and so you just have to tweak those where necessary. So let's go through a couple of examples. Let's name these 2 compounds. We've got SO3 and N2O5. So hopefully we're remembering our elements after all that practice at the beginning of the year. So that's sulfur combined with 3 oxygens. So the oxygen becomes an ide. Okay, and so oxide, and we use a prefix tri to denote the 3 of them. Next one is we've got nitrogen and oxygen, but we've got 2 nitrogens and 5 oxygens. So in this case it becomes dinitrogen pentoxide. And there's a case of dropping the O as well. And so the di there is very important. And looking at that name, you should be able to construct the formula from the name. And that's how you can tell if you've got it right or not. So in this case we're going from the name to the formula. So here we have silicon tetrafluoride. Notice it's silicon instead of silica. It could just as equally have been silica tetrafluoride. Now the tetra tells you there's a number of fluorines there, 4, and the fluoride is a representation of fluorine. And then we have nitrogen tribromide, that's bromine, and the tri tells us there's 3. So we should have formulas SiF4, so silicon tetrafluoride, and then we have nitrogen tribromide. And there's a little note here, the order of the elements is the same in both the molecule's formula and the name. So we always have the same order. So you should be able to now do these questions. Just having a quick scan there, there's no ultimately tricky ones. Just have a go at them and just be on the lookout, apply the rules, and you should be able to name them or write the formulas from their names. and I think the answers will appear just there. Alright, and then you've got to do question 12 from within the chapter, and here you go from the name to the formula, and here from the name to the formula. No, from the formula to the name. Alright, and I think the answers will appear very briefly there. So that was pretty quick, hey? And in the next video we'll start looking at another type of covalent substance. So all this was about covalent molecular substances. The next one we're going to look at is covalent network lattices. Cheerio!